I wanted to ask about the Notre Dame class specifically, because that was a group that, by my understanding, did get off to a hot start. Marcus Freeman and his staff, and maybe promoting internally is a part of that, because he had established so many relationships down the line from his time as a defensive coordinator and recruiting for the Fighting Irish. They have some continuity on the staff as well. But when things looked a little bit rocky early in the season, one of my questions beyond what was happening on the field was whether there would be an impact on the recruiting trail. By your estimation, how did Marcus Freeman and then this staff, other than maybe just winning a lot of games in the second half of the season, how did they hold this class together? And do you expect the Fighting Irish to be able to, close this thing out and finish right there in the top 3, top 4, top 5 of the rankings?
Well, Notre Dame looking for their third straight top 10 class. I don't know if they'll finish in the top 5 when all said and done. But look, from Coach Freeman on down, they pour a lot of time into these kids and really get to know them well beyond just the status quo of recruiting. I think that they put a little extra effort from the head coach into personally getting to know these recruits. And that was one of the reasons why he was able to get the job and take over for Brian Kelly and company. And I think when you look at it just purely from a recruiting standpoint, Notre Dame, they recruited well under Brian Kelly. They were in the national championship hunt. They developed well and they schemed well, and they were there at the end of the season a couple times with an opportunity to play for all the marbles. If you look at it just purely from recruiting, what Marcus Freeman's been able to do that I think has been a little bit better than the previous regime is that they've significantly upgraded the way that they recruit the quarterback position. I think that the guy that they have committed in this class right now, top 247 quarterback Kenny Minchie, is as good a quarterback as they've signed in the last 3 or 4 or 5 cycles. Then they have CJ Carr already committed in the 2024 class, who's another touted guy that Michigan, Georgia, and several others were pushing for. So I think that Notre Dame is setting up their quarterback room to be a lot more talented than what we've seen. Now, certainly Ian Book was a really good college football player that got drafted. But beyond Ian Book, there just hasn't been a guy that you could point to at Notre Dame and say, this is someone that can win 13 games, which is really the goal, right? Like Drew Pine's a good college quarterback, but for Notre Dame, the standard is to win 13 games or 14 games. And so I think that they're elevating the talent level in that room over this cycle and next cycle, in addition to continuing to recruit well across the front. I think Notre Dame's got a really good receiver class, guys that can be dynamic, guys that can stretch the field. They need more playmakers on offense. I think that they've put together a really nice running back room with Jeremiah Love and Jaden Lamar. Jeremiah Love is one of the fastest players in the country. And they continue to add guys on defense that I think can be really good. And then obviously they're going to recruit the offensive line at a high level. They always do. So the big takeaway with Notre Dame, Chip and Bud, is that quarterback recruiting is on the uptick. Now we'll see what that looks like as they go to battle in the fall. But I like the trajectory of their quarterback room.
They also could be in the portal as well for quarterback, depending on if they can get the right fit there.
They could be. Create as much competition in that room as possible until you got one of the best quarterbacks in college football under center. That's the expectation for Notre Dame, in my opinion. And it's been since Brady Quinn that they've boasted one of the best quarterbacks in college football. I guess Jimmy Clausen had a good final year. They couldn't play any defense that year. But it's been a while since you've looked at Notre Dame and said, man, they got an All-American candidate under center.
No doubt. And I know just some coaches that we had texted with about having played Notre Dame. We were like, hey, what did you see in those teams that beat the Irish? And they said, look, like Stanford played man free on these guys all day. Marshall manned them up. That they were not scared of the Irish receiver. So it's great to see that Notre Dame bringing in a receiver class of the quality that they are this